Hey everyone, it's Philip with the Everyday Fighter podcast. When I first started my martial arts journey, I was already in my early 20s, so kind of late by some folks' standards, but I just didn't have the opportunity up until then. And when I got into it, I started with a form of karate that was full contact. Now, I didn't know this when I went down there for my first introduction to it. It was just kind of like, talking to the head instructor. He just kind of mentioned, in between all the other kind of details of what, goes on in their class and how it's formatted and that type of thing. And, oh, by the way, we're a full contact style. And I just kind of said, oh, okay. And I just kind of brushed it off because I knew I wanted to go there already because it was convenient for me. It was just down the street from where I was living. And it seemed like a really good group of folks. But what that meant was that most folks didn't pull their punches. There was no light contact. Now, we didn't hit, punch to the face, but we hit pretty hard to the body. Lots of leg kicks, to the lower legs, leg kicks to my head. So it was a pretty old school, hard style. And as a young man, not having any kind of experience like this prior to that, in terms of something that physical, I kind of wore it like a badge of courage, along with all the injuries and bruises and all of that. So whether it was a smart thing to do or not, I can't even say. I look back on those days with both fondness and I can't believe that we did that. So that's all to preface this story that I have about a black belt test that I was a participant in. So one of my fellow karatikas, Matt, was going for his black belt, and we actually started about the same time. But I had taken a couple of breaks on our way to rank, and he was up for his black belt probably a good year prior to me even qualifying, and consequently I never got my black belt in that style. Just life happened, and my heart wasn't in it also. But in any case, one of the things with our style is the style that I learned with is a big piece of the black belt test is what they call the 10-man fight, 10-man kumite. And what this is the black belt tester, the student that's about to get their black belt, they have to fight 10 people in a row. The rounds, as far as their length, vary. Typically, it's 2-minute rounds with a minute rest in between. Some will go higher or lower, just depending on the particular school or style. And it was, again, full contact. Now, you can imagine somebody having to go through this gauntlet, how not only intimidating it is, because you've got 10 people lined up in front of you. And sometimes, depending on how many people are able to attend and help out with the test, maybe a couple of them have to go twice, right? So it's supposed to be 10-man fight. Maybe we only have 7 or 8 there, then a couple of those folks will go again. But invariably, these guys are fresh. This line of fresh fighters, and this black belt nominee has to go through all of that, all these rounds, and there's a little bit of rest in between. And one of the things that it took me a while to get used to, even just in my style, was actually going hard on somebody, actually not pulling my punches a lot, and because that was just something that was expected of us. But even in regular class, that was something that it took me a bit to get over. Then eventually, I started tussling in there just as strong as anybody else. You kind of like matched the strength of the person that you were sparring. But in this particular case, it was a little different for me in that, oh my gosh, I mean, you can see, I think I was like maybe fifth or sixth in line. And so I saw the fighters that were going ahead of me against my friend Matt. And I'm thinking to myself, oh my gosh, I mean, by the time I get to him, he's just going to be wiped. And I think that was probably the way he was after just the first person, Of course, knowing that a lot of the people in line to fight would be thinking this, our teacher specifically told us, look, you're going to see stuff here that it's going to be hard to watch. But the thing is, you can't pull your punches on him. You cannot do that because that's not what he's here for. I mean, he's waited this many years. He's trained this long. He's practiced this long to be able to make it through this. So one, you don't want to give him kind of a false victory. I don't know if those are the actual terms that he used, but that was kind of the gist of it, was that you want to give him what he's been training for, So you are not helping him by going soft. And that was a big deal to me. That was a huge realization for me to hear, that I would be thinking typically that I was being kind, right? I was serving him if I did go softer, right? But, our teacher saying that, made me realize is, what? Maybe it's not serving him. So it gave me pause, and I really had to think about it, and I bought in. I said, you know what? I think he's right in this. It's definitely not serving him. And if I was in his shoes, I don't think I would want anyone to take it easy on me either. I mean, thinking about it now, it's kind of a scary thought. But that's something that's, I would have wanted to feel like I earned it as well. And when somebody's kind of taking it easy on you. Now, of course, this is all within reason, right? I mean, of course, everybody has their level of aggression and of willingness to go on somebody. But I was a bit tempered in that I checked where he was, and I said, you know what? I'm just going to keep on going. I'm just going to do the things that I would normally do. And that was a big deal for me. And I know, even when we went through after I did it, I mean, I was going for the sweeps. I hit him pretty hard. He wasn't even checking his kicks anymore. Our kicks anymore. He was spent, but I just kept on telling myself, you're not serving him. You're not serving him by going any lighter, So, I tell that story to my classes, not in a way that makes them, I don't want to get them to beat on somebody for no reason, but just to give them pause, like it gave me pause in that, you want to be a good partner. You want the person that you're working with, they're here for a reason, right? If it's self-defense, that means they want to be prepared for anything that may come their way, Whether they are or not, we don't know. All we can do is what we do on the mat, right? But you want to give them that respect, and that the person that is going to do something to them, looking to harm them, is not going to be pulling any punches, right? So because we are in a training environment, because we want to be absolutely safe, that's one thing, but we still want to challenge the person that we are working with. We want to give them ways that they can grow. Okay, because again, the expectation is that they're going to be better prepared for whatever it might be, whether it's sporting competition, whether it's self-defense, whether it's just, kind of in their physical fitness. You hear people say a lot, for when people are doing curls, right? Bicep curls with the weights. They're going 10 reps, right? What rep is the most important? What's the one that makes the biggest difference? Some people say the first one, some people say the 10th, and others will say, no, it's actually the 11th. When that muscle is completely spent and that person still does that 11th curl, that they just go one bit more. And that's the one that that does the most work to help that muscle grow. So the same type of thing when you are working with partners, right? Is and with your teammates, is be a good training partner in that you really do challenge them. Okay. Don't just beat the crap out of them just because you can, because they're spent, but give them something where they're going to be challenged. That's something that they get used to having to think and understand what their capabilities are and find answers for themselves in that very challenging situation. Okay, knowing that that's going to better prepare them for an environment where it's not as friendly, right? So challenge them physically, challenge them emotionally, give them resistance. If you're doing, say, grappling or takedowns, learn the ones and twos, right? And I tell my classes this all the time. For the first bit of time, we're going to learn the ones and twos, going to get that basic understanding of what you're trying to do with each step in this technique, say. So you want to learn that because you want to get your body used to the movements. But then over time, you want to start thinking about, well, what if I have a partner that is actually resisting me? They're not just falling down, right? You're going for a hip toss, right? They're just not standing there like a leather dummy, right? They're moving around themselves, and you have to make your way around them. So be that person that if someone is trying to do a technique on you, eventually you get to a point where, okay, well, let's add some footwork to this. Let's add a little bit of resistance where I'm not necessarily going to let you just automatically take me down, right? Because that's reality. That's something where, again, if they had to do this in a competition or to defend themselves, it's not going to be as easy as just, okay, the ones and twos of the basic technique. There's going to be other things that play in there as well. Play different scenarios also. Have a situation where, okay, well, they can't use their left hand, or they have to, normally they're an orthodox stance. Now put them into a southpaw stance. So they have that kind of dynamic in there as well. So you want to be a good partner and allow those types of things. And you don't want to be a jerk, right? There's a fine line, I say to my classes, between being a good partner, which you want to be. You want to help your partner grow, right? Challenge them, get them so that their heart is racing a little bit more, get them thinking about things that maybe they wouldn't have thought of otherwise, and stay on that side. There's that fine line that you could cross where you just become the jerk, right? You hit them, hard for no apparent reason, right? Or you keep on hitting the same opening over and over and over, and they might not be getting it for one reason or another, but you don't stop and say, have you noticed what I've been doing there? You're open. So, coach each other, be open to that, be open to, getting that kind of coaching, getting that kind of partner working with you as well. And, even though we're talking about this in terms of martial arts and the fight game, this is something that could apply outside as well. To good friends of yours, coworkers, if that's an environment that kind of allows that type of kind of dynamic feedback. If you're in a mastermind, like a kind of for small business, or a particular niche that you're in, be sure that you are in with people that are looking to be good partners, that are looking not to be jerks and show how good they are or how much better than you they are, but that are invested in helping you grow, just as you are invested in helping them grow. So that's it for today, guys. This is Philip with the Everyday Fighter podcast. We'll talk to you next time.